Jessica and Matthew were overjoyed when they found out they were expecting twins. It was a dream come true for the couple who had been trying for a baby for years. They couldn't wait to hold their little bundles of joy in their arms and start their journey as parents. As the news of twins sunk in, Jessica and Matthew were filled with a mix of emotions. They were excited, nervous, and overwhelmed all at the same time. They couldn't believe that they were going to be parents to not just one, but two babies. Jessica and Matthew's journey to parenthood began with numerous doctor visits and preparations for the arrival of their twins. They were determined to give their babies the best of everything and were ready to face any challenges that came their way. During one of their routine checkups, the doctor noticed something odd in Jessica's ultrasound. He furrowed his brows and examined again, his expression turning grave. Having made this determination, he then called for a second doctor to confirm what he had observed. The second doctor's examination confirmed the first doctor's suspicions. Jessica was not carrying twins but triplets. Everyone in the room was stunned, including Jessica and Matthew. The news was unexpected, and they were ill-prepared for it, as it was a rare occurrence. The doctors informed Jessica and Matthew about the risks involved in carrying triplets. They were advised to take extra precautions and be prepared for any complications that may arise during the pregnancy. Jessica and Matthew were worried, but they were determined to do everything in their power to ensure the safe arrival of their babies. As Jessica's pregnancy progressed, the couple's excitement and anxiety grew. They had to make adjustments to their plans and preparations for the arrival of 3 babies instead of 2. It was a new reality that they had to embrace with open arms. Jessica couldn't shake off a strange feeling that something was not quite right. She couldn't put her finger on it, but she felt like there was something mysterious about her pregnancy. She decided to brush it off, thinking it was just her nerves playing tricks on her. During one of her appointments, Jessica's doctor expressed his concerns about her pregnancy. He noticed that her blood pressure was unusually high, and she was experiencing severe headaches. In order to avoid injuries, he recommended that she rest more and take it easy. That night, Jessica had a disturbing nightmare. She dreamt of a dark figure looming over her and her babies. She woke up in a cold sweat and couldn't shake off the feeling of dread. She couldn't understand why she was having such terrible dreams. Jessica's unsettling feeling only grew stronger with time. She couldn't ignore it any longer and decided to share her concerns with Matthew. The man assured her that everything was fine, but deep down, he could not help but feel the same way as well. During her next appointment, Jessica's doctor gave her a stern warning. He noticed that her blood pressure had risen to dangerous levels, and she was at risk of developing preeclampsia. He advised her to take complete bed rest and prescribed medication to lower her blood pressure. As Jessica spent more time at home, strange things started happening around her. She would hear whispers and footsteps when no one else was around. Objects would move independently, and she would feel a presence in the room. She couldn't explain any of it, and it began to scare her. Jessica's intuition told her that something was wrong, and it had to do with her babies. She couldn't shake off the feeling that they were in danger. She shared her concerns with Matthew, but he dismissed them, thinking it was just her imagination. One day, while Jessica was resting, she heard a loud thud from the nursery. She rushed to check on her babies and found that one of the cribs had been knocked over. She was horrified to see scratch marks on the walls and a strange symbol carved on the floor. Jessica and Matthew were terrified and didn't know what to do. They decided to seek help from a paranormal investigator who confirmed their worst fears. It is said that their house was haunted by an evil spirit who was after their babies in a malevolent manner. Determined to protect their babies, Jessica and Matthew sought the help of a priest to perform an exorcism. The spirit put up a fierce fight, but with the prayers and blessings of the priest, it was finally banished from their home. With the spirit gone, Jessica's pregnancy took a positive turn. Her blood pressure returned to normal, and she gave birth to 3 healthy babies. Their lives were changed forever by Lily, Rose, and Jack, who were the light of their worlds. Looking back, Jessica and Matthew realized that their journey to parenthood was not just about welcoming their babies into the world, but also about facing their fears and overcoming challenges. It made them stronger as a couple and as parents. As Jessica and Matthew settled into their new life as a family of 5, They couldn't help but feel grateful for the mysterious twist that led them to their beautiful, healthy triplets. It was a journey full of ups and downs, but it was all worth it for the love and joy their babies brought into their lives. Jessica and Matthew were happily married with 3 beautiful triplets. They had been through a lot together, but nothing could have prepared them for the strange visitor who knocked on their door one morning. Their joy was short-lived when a familiar face appeared at their doorstep. It was Eric, Jessica's ex-boyfriend. They hadn't seen him in years and were surprised to see him standing there. Before they could even ask why he was there, Eric dropped a bombshell. He claimed that the triplets were his, and that he wanted to be a part of their lives. Jessica and Matthew were shocked. How could this be possible? They had been together for 5 years and never once did Jessica mention another man. As Jessica and Matthew tried to make sense of the situation, Eric revealed the truth. He and Jessica had a brief fling before she met Matthew, and she had kept it a secret from him. Eric explained that he had always regretted letting Jessica go and had been trying to find her ever since. He was heartbroken when he found out she was married, but now that he knew about the triplets, he is firm to be a part of their lives. Jessica was torn. On the one hand, she was happy with her life and her family, but on the other, she couldn't deny that Eric was the father of her children. She didn't know what to do. After much discussion, Jessica and Matthew decided to take a DNA test to confirm if Eric was the father of the triplets. They couldn't believe they were in this situation, but they had to know the truth. The days leading up to the DNA results were filled with tension and anxiety. Jessica and Matthew couldn't focus on anything else, and their once happy home was now filled with uncertainty. Finally, the day arrived and the results were in. It was confirmed that Eric was indeed the father of the triplets. Jessica and Matthew were in shock, and their world turned upside down. Eric revealed that he had been in a serious accident a few years ago, and he was unable to have children. He had always wanted a family, and now he had 3 beautiful children with Jessica. After much discussion, Jessica and Matthew agreed to let Eric be a part of their children's lives. They wanted their children to have a relationship with their biological father, and they were willing to make it work. It was a difficult adjustment for everyone. Jessica and Matthew had to learn to share their children with Eric, and Eric had to learn to be a father to 3 toddlers he had just met. As time passed, the relationship between Eric and the triplets grew stronger. He was a natural with children, and they quickly warmed up to him. Jessica and Matthew were relieved to see their children happy. But not everyone was happy with the new arrangement. Eric's ex-girlfriend, who had been with him during his accident, was jealous of his newfound relationship with the triplets. She saw Jessica and Matthew as a threat and wanted to take them down. Eric's ex-girlfriend came up with a dangerous plan to get rid of Jessica and Matthew. She knew that Eric would do anything for his children, and she used that to her advantage. She convinced Eric that Jessica and Matthew were trying to take his children away from him and that they were planning to move to another state. She urged him to take drastic measures to stop them. One night, while Jessica and Matthew were sleeping, Eric broke into their house and kidnapped the triplets. He had fallen for his ex-girlfriend's lies and believed that he was protecting his children. Jessica and Matthew woke up to find their children missing. They immediately called the police, and an intense search began. They feared for the safety of their children and prayed that they would be found soon. The police searched for the triplets all over the city, but there was no sign of them. Jessica and Matthew were beside themselves with worry, and they couldn't understand why Eric would do something like this. After hours of searching, the police finally found Eric's ex-girlfriend's house. They stormed in and found Eric and the triplets inside. They were unharmed, but Eric's ex-girlfriend had escaped. Eric was arrested, and Jessica and Matthew could finally live in peace with their children. They were grateful for the love and support of their family and friends during this difficult time. Jessica and Matthew decided to move to a new city to start fresh. They wanted to leave the past behind and focus on their family and their future. This experience taught Jessica and Matthew the importance of honesty and communication in a relationship. Even though the situation was difficult and stressful, Jessica and Matthew couldn't deny that it brought them closer together as a couple. They were thankful for their strong bond and their beautiful family. After all the chaos and drama, Jessica and Matthew were finally able to find their happily ever after. They were grateful for their 3 beautiful children and the love they shared as a family. Eric's ex-girlfriend was eventually caught and found guilty of kidnapping and conspiracy. It was revealed that she had been manipulating Eric for her own selfish reasons. With the threat finally behind them, Jessica and Matthew could fully move on with their lives. They were excited about the new adventures and memories they would create as a family. The 3 grew up to be happy and healthy children. They were loved by their 2 fathers and their mother, and they never knew the chaos that had once surrounded their family. Despite everything that had happened, Jessica and Matthew were able to forgive Eric for his mistakes. They saw the good in him and knew that he was just a man who wanted to be a father to his children. Eric became a regular part of their lives, and they were grateful for the bond that their children shared with him. They were a blended family, but they were a strong and loving one. It didn't matter who the biological father of the triplets was. What mattered was the love and bond that they shared as a family. Jessica and Matthew's love for each other and their children was unbreakable. This was a story of love, forgiveness, and redemption. It showed that love can prevail and bring people together even in the most unexpected and challenging situations. If it wasn't for Eric's accident all those years ago, he and Jessica would have never reconnected, and he would have never known about his children. Sometimes fate has a way of bringing people together in the most unexpected ways. As this story ends, one question remains: what other surprises and twists of fate await Jessica, Matthew, and their family? Only time will tell, but one thing is for sure: they will face it together.